Hey, Foundry Groups, it is good to be with you guys again today. We are already in December. This is crazy that we are getting close to Christmas already. Hope you guys were able to enjoy some time off and enjoy Thanksgiving and eat way too much turkey and gravy and potatoes. Oh man, my mouth is starting to water just thinking about that again. I could do that all over again. But we are in a Christmas series called Christmas Files, and we're on week 2 now, as we look at the Old Testament and how Jesus fulfills a lot of those things. And I have so been enjoying and looking forward to this series, and I hope you guys have as well. This week, we looked into the second week of Jesus being fully God and fully man. We are answering the what question of our series. And when we think about Jesus being fully God and fully man, it's one of those things that it's hard to comprehend, right? When we think of him being 100% God and 100% man, we are not told how that works mathematically, right? It doesn't make sense for our brain. And yet, that is what we know Jesus to be. Jesus did not come on earth and sacrifice some of his godliness for humanity, right? He's not 50-50. Jesus is fully God and fully man. And because of those things, we just have the blessing of Jesus walking a similar road that we did. It may be 2,000 years ago, but yet Jesus walked on this earth and he felt some of the pain that we felt. He feels some of the temptation that we feel, though he did not sin in those things. And because of that, we can have a greater understanding and a greater trust of knowing that Jesus has walked a road that we have. So we can go to him in that kind of a comfort and trust that He's walked the road with us, so we can go to him in that way. So I'm so excited for this, for the group's questions coming out of this. Before we jump into that, I want to give you a quick announcement about our Christmas services. They're on Christmas Eve, December 24, at 9:30, 11, 1:30, and 3. So it's all that Saturday. If you can't make any of those services, we also are recording that service and are going to be putting that out on Christmas Day. So we'd love for you to come in, attend, and celebrate Christmas with us. Again, it's 9:30, 11, 1:30, and 3. Super excited for those services. So, hey, anyway, that's enough of that. Let's jump right in. Icebreaker question for today. If you could pick a historical period or a historical time to live in, what would it be? We were just laughing about this in the office. Mine would be like in like the 50s or 60s, growing up in that time period. And some of the people are like, well, that is kind of the period I grew up in, so it's devastating that you're choosing a historical period to grow up in, and that's what I lived in. So what historical period would you choose to live in? All right, when you think about Jesus being fully God and fully man, which of these is easier for you to understand? And do you tend to picture Jesus in his divine power, right, his fully godness, or in his humanity, the fully man? Why do you think that is? All right, we're going to take a little bit of a step back before we jump into Scripture. Let's talk about where we're even at. Like, what do you know about Jesus being fully man? Right? When you think about the Scriptures and the things that point to Jesus being fully man, what do you think of? What can prove to you that Jesus is fully man? And on the opposite side of that, what can prove that Jesus is fully God? What do you know from the Scriptures? What stories do you know? Maybe some miracles, right? What proves that Jesus is fully God when you think about him in his divine power? For this next section, start by reading John 1, 6 to 18. In this story, we're introduced to a character named John the Baptist. What do you notice about him? And what do you feel like his intentions are about the way he's doing ministry? And from those verses, what do you learn about Jesus in relation to his divinity or his being fully God? John 1:14 says, "The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us." And we know that word to be Jesus, that Jesus came down and he made his living amongst us. I love that. When you hear that verse, what does that make you think about? I think for situations in our life, there's many times where things come up and we're like, I'm going to do this on my own. And we forget that Jesus has walked a similar road to us. Here's the question in this. Is there anything in your life that you've been holding on to and not giving it to Jesus because you don't think he understands it? Or is it something that you know to be true, that you know Jesus walked a road and understands it, and yet you want to try and fix it on your own? Okay, knowing Jesus walked the same earth that we do, what situation, right? If the situation that I said right as I started talking, something came up in your head, what situation are you thinking of right now that you can hand over to Jesus, understanding that he actually knows what you're going through? Hebrews 4:15 says that this high priest of ours understands our weakness, for he faced all of the same testings we do, yet he did not sin. In this verse, Jesus is the high priest. And with this understanding, does this change how you view Jesus at all? Do you think Jesus is more or less approachable because of this? With this understanding, what situation in your life do you lack trust in? It may be similar to the situation you referenced before, but think about why might that be? Right? Why do you think you lack trust in this situation? When we hold on to things that we should actually be giving to Jesus, that we want to hold on to the control and say, Jesus, no, I got this taken care of. We are actually putting ourselves in a higher position than Jesus in this. Jesus can take it. He wants to take it regardless of the situation that you may be dealing with. Here's the application in this. What are the steps that you can take to trust him in your current circumstance, in the situation you may be dealing with? All right, last question, and this is a scenario question. Let's say a family member comes over for Christmas dinner coming up in a few weeks, and they say, I heard the Foundry has been talking about Jesus and being fully God and fully man, and the last time I checked, 100% plus 100% does not add up to one person, right? That doesn't make sense. How do you respond to them in this situation? I think often we can just get all these heady answers, but when it gets down to business, like, how do you respond to somebody in that situation? All right, groups, as always, wrap up in prayer, see how everybody's doing, and if there's anything you can be praying for. We do have a Digging Deeper section that looks a little bit closer at Luke 2. It's the second half of that chapter where Jesus is brought to the temple to be consecrated. And there's a lot of really cool language that actually points back to the book of Exodus and when God asked his people to consecrate themselves, and we see Jesus doing this and fulfilling some of that stuff in there too. So it's super cool. If you want to take a look, that is in our Digging Deeper section if you guys have some extra time. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great week. I hope your conversations are filled with blessing and laughter, and let us know how you're doing. We'd love to just be able to know how we can walk alongside you better, especially over this Christmas season. I hope you guys have a great week.